Hello, is there anyone there? Hello, hello. Yeah, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I don't know if I don't see many. Probably we are slightly ahead of time. So let's wait others to join and then we'll start it.
Good
مقدرين هاي
afternoon,
هاي
everyone. Can you hear me?
هذول عشان
Yeah,
يمكن
perfectly. Yes.
بعرفهم
Go.
يعني شطورة
I'm
وأنا
sorry.
ماشي حالي.
All right, I'm just making sure everyone is muted. Excellent. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Please allow me, Juman Deirani, to welcome you all to the fourth annual English Language Conference 2026, jointly organized by the Queen Rania Teacher Academy and Georgia State University. This year's conference theme, Inclusive English Teaching in a Changing World, reflects our shared commitment to creating learning environments where every student feels seen, valued, and empowered to succeed. Over the course of this conference, educators, researchers, and practitioners from around the world are coming together to exchange ideas, share experiences, and explore innovative approaches to English language teaching in today's rapidly evolving educational landscape. At QRTA, the mission has always centered on empowering educators and improving the quality of teaching and learning through professional development, collaboration, and innovation. Together with GSU, this partnership continues to build bridges between global expertise and local educational impact, making this conference an important platform for meaningful dialogue and professional growth. Before we begin, I would like to encourage everyone to actively participate in today's session. As you listen to the presentation, please feel free to prepare your questions and share them in the chat box throughout the session. We will have a Q&A segment at the end where the speaker will address as many of your questions and comments as possible. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Ahmad Jan, from King Abdulaziz University. He brings extensive experience and valuable insights in the field of English language education, particularly in the area of integrating pedagogical innovation with digital technology. Today, Mr. Jan will be speaking with us about flipping the script. Let AI do the prep and you do the teaching. Please join me in giving him a warm welcome. Please, Mr. Jan.
Thank you very much. That was a lovely introduction. And we are going to start it. And, you know, the way you were saying the title, this actually reflected my own feeling that it looks more poetic and archaic sort of thing, you know, and that's why I definitely had a plan to explain the rationale behind it. So, yeah, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Let's start the session. I have already been introduced by Ms. Jaman, and I couldn't have done it in any better way. So thanks a lot for the lovely introduction. So in the next 30 minutes or so, we'll be talking about the title of the presentation, as you can see there, Flip the Script. Let AI do the prep and you do the teaching. It's kind of a tongue twister, and it's kind of, as I said, it's like an archaic, poetic sort of language. And when I chose it, I don't know what mindset I was going through, but that's what came to mind, and I chose the title. But the idea that I'm just going to help you with is this. So there are a few very key words in the title. We're going to start with the script, and then we will learn what we mean by that, and then we'll see how we can flip the script. So the script and then flipping the script, and then we will see the role of AI in doing that. So this is the whole thing we're doing. I want to start with an overview of the session. So this is what we will do. We'll start with the script, and that will be followed by, as I said, the idea of flipping the script. And the third most important thing is using AI for that purpose. For preparation, for presentation, and all that. And in doing that, we will be focusing on three very important things here. So the first one is the Socratic tutor, and that's a use of AI. And we will use AI as a Socratic tutor. And we will also be looking at how we can create KWL charts, using AI. And that's the second important thing we're doing. And thirdly, and equally importantly, creating the diagnostic tests using AI. So these are the three things we are going to do together in this session. So let's begin the first thing. So as I said, the script is the first and the most important thing to start with. So just imagine this thing, that you just enter in one of your friend's classroom, a colleague's class. When you enter, you would see a few things happening, and some possible things that you would see in the classroom can be, for example, that he's busy doing a scanning activity with the students. And you might find him doing a role play activity. And it's equally possible that you might see him doing some brainstorming for ideas. This is, again, a possibility. And he might also be busy with doing a productive task, like writing or a speaking activity or something like that. And again, maybe he is busy doing a predictive, predicting the task to guess the content in a reading passage. So these are some possibilities. And equally, there's a possibility that he's busy with doing some sort of vocabulary focus activity. So these are 4 or 5 or 6 things you might see your friend doing when you enter the classroom. And we all know that we do these things in the classroom, but probably not in the same order as we see them here, right? So we do them in a certain sequence. And maybe that sequence is something, there are many ways to sequence them, but one of them, as English language teachers, we are used to with is the PPP thing, the presentation, the practice, and the production framework of designing lesson. So, I mean, if I just ask you to pick up the things from the left there, the activities, and put them into the 3 segments here. So where do you think scanning for information would go? Will it be considered a presentation type of activity, or a practicing or a production type of activity? I'm just keeping an eye on the chat room, so please, you can put your answers into the chat. So scanning for information would be considered a presentation type of activity, okay? And any other presentation? Okay, any other answers? Okay, someone says practice. So it's kind of 50-50, right? Okay, presentation again. Right, we'll see. Okay, and how about role play? Where would you put that into? Is that presentation, practice, or production? So role play is practice, and someone says production. Right, yeah, okay. And how about brainstorming for ideas? Okay, it's, okay, that's prediction, right, okay, fine. And how about a productive task like writing or debating? Where would that go? Is it a presentation, practice, or production type of activity? Okay, sort of mixed responses again. And predicting tasks to guess the content. Where would that go? Predicting task. Right, okay, it's going into presentation. Many of you say it, and probably I would agree with you. And how about vocabulary focus? In which part of the lesson do we do that? Okay. Travis is giving us a full list of things. Okay. So vocabulary focus is in all. Summer says, okay, good one. All of them, right? Okay, excellent. Yes. So if I just put it slightly differently, if I say pre-teaching vocabulary, where would that go? That's probably yes. So, okay, now let's quickly have a look. And this is how it normally works. So this is a possibility that presentation type of activities are something like, as I have put in there, and the practice activities are something similar to this, and production activities are down there. So these activities, predicting, brainstorming, pre-teaching vocabulary, this is a type of activity we normally do for the sake of something, and that's usually upcoming in the practicing. So in the practicing, if it's a reading lesson, we might be doing skimming and scanning. And if it's a production thing, there will be a lot of speaking involvement, or let's say something writing about it. So these are some possibilities. Okay, now I'll just take you to the next important thing here. Now let's quickly do a time and challenge audit of what we do in. So as I said, I must say it here that this thing is what we call the script, right? So this is the script of the lesson. And in a sense that this script is kind of rigid, that there's probably it won't allow us to move things, too flexibly. So there is a sequence of lesson, and that's what we normally follow. And as I said, we are going to audit this thing. So just imagine that lesson sequence to the left, and I'm going to ask you a few questions about it. So please just go head to your chat rooms, and I'm going to ask you these questions. So let's start with the first question. So in that part, in the presentation, practice, and production thing, which segment, which part of the lesson takes most of your class time? Is it presentation, practice, or production when you're teaching? Okay, production takes most of the class time. We are talking about the actual teaching. Okay, in the actual teaching, you think not what should happen, but we're talking about what is the actual thing. So production, generally people think that takes most of the time of the class, right? Do we agree? Okay, but probably production, practice. Okay, fine. And how about the second one? Which activities sometimes get ignored due to lack of time? In a lesson, which activities get ignored? Practice activities? Okay, so they don't practice. Right. And which activities are most challenging ones for the learners? Any ideas about that? It's the production type of activities. I completely agree with you there. And which part of the lesson introduces the new content to the student? Where do you actually teach? One is the, preparing students to learn. That's another thing. But the actual teaching, where does that happen? Dahlia says it's production. Anybody else there? Okay, fine. So, I mean, normally it is said that the sequence is slightly different from what probably you said it, but let's take it that way. Fine. So, if we just go into the literature, the fact is something like this. Let's say in terms of time, most of the classroom time is spent on presentation. And this is the part of the lesson in which you spend so much time explaining things to the students that you're clarifying vocabulary, setting the context, all sorts of activities you're engaging with. That is what takes most of the classroom time. And that is followed by practice. And if any time is left, that is given to production, right? So production receives the least amount of time. So now let's take this thing that is the time we're talking about in terms of time. Now, the level of difficulty is yet another thing to look into this. But if you look into the same thing, in terms of the level of challenge provided by each part of the lesson, we see it's totally opposite, right? So let's say the thing, presentation is the least challenging and production is the most challenging. But so it's disproportionate to say that production being the most challenging receives the least amount of time, and presentation being the least challenging, but it receives the most of the time of your class time, right? So this is actually what happens, and that's why there's kind of a lack of proportion in this whole thing. Now, I take it forward. So what may be a solution to this thing? I mean, so what can we do? Some possible solutions. I give you two, and if you have any other, please share it with me. So one thing is, okay, let's assign more time to production and, don't do presentation a lot of time. So that's one way to do it. And the second one can be, okay, divide the time equally between the three parts of the lesson or any other. So what do you think? Okay. Right. So give less time to presentation. Right. Amina says, I should close this session, Amina, right? Okay, that's what I'm going to say. Of course. Yes. Yeah. Right. So the idea is this, that in this scenario, we can do something called the flipped learning. And the concept of flipped learning is that there's these two guys, Bugman and Sam. They were chemistry teachers, and they had the same problem. A lot of the high order thinking skill tasks were ignored in the classroom. And the teachers were most of the time busy with explaining things like vocabulary, that kind of thing, building the context and this sort of activities. So they actually came out with an idea that why not to flip it? So by flipping, they thought that let's develop a strategy where the work that is traditionally done in the classroom will be done at home, right? So what takes most of the classroom time is the presentation part. So let's move it to a kind of a home task, right? And focus on what is normally left out, sometimes due to lack of time, the production task. And we normally, assign it as a homework for the students to do at home, if it is an essay writing sort of thing. So they said, okay, now let's bring it back to the classroom. So when we reverse it, what would happen is the more challenging task will get more attention in the classroom, and the less challenging task will be done by the students at home. And this is also, said by Carr, which is a very latest article. And he also says that it's, flipped learning is basically something that, where instructional content are taught outside the classroom, and the active learning content of the lesson is done in the classroom. So what we mean by instructional content is we would define it as the presentation part of the lesson, which is the instructional content. And to us, active learning constitutes two parts of the lesson, which is practice and product. So in other words, what we want to do in this model of learning is let's take presentation out of the lesson and give it to the students to do at home. And then the practice and product, which are more challenging and more important part of the lesson, let's do them in the classroom. But the thing is, we can't do this as it is, right? So we cannot leave the students to do preparation at home and then come to the class and follow up with the practice and product. So we, as professional teachers, we still have to let them go through those steps that we do in, at our own in the classroom. So the idea can be something like this. So let's flip the lesson, divide the lesson into two: the preparation part, the prep. I told you in the beginning, okay? So the preparation part, and that is what we mean by the presentation part of the lesson, and let's set it as a home time activity. And the teach part would be, which is two very important components of the lesson, practice and production. This will be set as class time activity. The reason being, as I said, is that these two activities need a lot of cognitive attention. These are more challenging for students, and the students need more work and more scaffolding in the classroom. That's why we need to do it this way. Okay. I hope we are right. Now, what do we actually mean by, I'm not going to focus on the teach part, because as I said, we are flipping the script and using AI to do the prep. So I'm just going to focus on the first part most of the time. So let's say what we mean by the prep part of it, what we can do to prepare the students at home and then come and join the class later to do the other two parts. One thing is, as I said, we cannot just let the students prepare on their own and then come to the class. That will probably not be teaching, but we still have to teach it. And what that teaching constitutes, we're going to explore it now. But before then, I just want to tell you what we normally do in the presentation part of the lesson. So in a presentation part of the lesson, if you just go to that part, you would see that we normally focus on three areas of the lesson. It can be something like a language analysis sort of thing. Okay, so what we're doing, we might just point out the forms of verb and that kind of things. This is what we focus on. And we might also do some schemata building type of activities. And this constitutes things like, to give students an opportunity to share what they come with, so that to share their background knowledge about the content, especially when it's a reading thing. What schemata, it plays a huge role in understanding the content if the students have a background knowledge of the content they're reading, right? So this is a second important thing. And thirdly, there is the comprehension, or let's say the diagnostic type of thing. The student actually tests themselves. So, and they know their weaknesses, where they are strong and which part of the target language they need more help. That is the next thing that they do. So these three things, we spend a lot of time on this in the classroom. So the idea that I'm going to share with you is that we can do this with the help of AI in the classroom, right? So how we can do that, I'm going to introduce three activities which involve the use of AI, and we do these three things here. The first of them is the use of guided discovery questionnaires with AI as a Socratic tutor. So there are two very important components to this. Number one is the guided discovery questionnaires. Those of you who have already used it, you know what that means. And we will quickly just have a look at that. But I just want to quickly tell you what we mean by AI as a Socratic tutor. So basically, the AI engines, be it the Chat GPT, any of those tools, Gemini or any Claude or whatever you may call them, they're all basically answering machines. So you go to them and you get an answer and you're happy with it. This is what they do. And that's why we believe that they're not very helpful in that, right? So what happens is this man, Socrates, he's a giant philosopher from Greece, of many millennia ago. This gentleman had a way of teaching. So what he did is, he basically went to people and talked to them about what they understood, different things, right? And so Socrates never told them what was the right thing to do. Instead, he kept on asking them questions. So this by asking questions, he raised their awareness about those things. And in the end, if someone engaged in kind of discussion with Socrates, he was a different man when he left the conversation, right? And the reason, because he was asking them questions, he was prompting them in such a way that in the end, when they left, their understanding was very different and they were much more informed than when they started the conversation. So this is what we can bring into the use of AI too. So we will do it in a few minutes on that. And the second thing is we can use AI to create the KWL charts. KWL is like basically the idea, I'll just introduce it to you in a minute, is, an assessment of the students' knowledge of what they know, what they want to know, and what they learn from it. Let's say there's a reading text, or they're reading about, let's say, football. So what is the background knowledge about a topic that they already know? So let's put it this way. So these students know these 5 things about it, and then these are the 5 things they don't know. And what happens is, once they identify the things they know and the things that they don't know, the learning is like, it takes its path. So they know what I don't know. Once you decide what you don't know, it helps you to learn in the next stage, right? So this is actually the KWL chart. We will do it very quickly. I know we might run out of time, but still, let's focus on that. And the last one is the diagnostic self-assessment part. So here is basically the students test themselves with the help of AI, where they see, okay, so this is what I'm learning. Just give me 15 questions on that, and I will answer the questions. So how many of them you're able to answer, and how many you cannot? So this actually helps you diagnose your own problems and how you learn about it. So that's the idea. Now let's quickly have a look at each one of them very quickly. So if you have ever used the guided discovery questionnaire, there's something like this. So you start with a set of examples that you give to the students, and then with the help of those examples, you discuss the rules that govern that particular thing. For example, here the students are studying past simple tense, right? And the teacher is giving them 5 sentences, and with the help of those 5 sentences, the teacher is actually asking them 5 or 6 questions, whatever number of questions. And these, if the student understands these questions, he is able to understand everything about the past simple tense. Now, for example, the first question here says, do these actions describe that the things are happening right now, or the actions already finished, right? So if the student is able to answer this, he is learning the use of past simple tense, that it is something that happened in the past, right? So you create a set of questions like this and give them to the students. And what the student does is something like this. And apart from this, you share the questionnaire and the guided discovery questionnaire and the example with the students, and then you give them a prompt before the lesson. So what the student does is they get this prompt from you, and the prompt says, right, you are an expert English language Socratic tutor. Your goal is to guide me through a guided discovery activity so that I can figure out the meaning, form, and pronunciation of the past simple tense, right? And then you set the rule, but you want the AI tool to behave the way you want it to behave. And so what is that? You say, okay, never give away the answer. So please don't give answers to me. These are the questions I want to know. Don't give me the answers. Then AI says, what should I do then? I'm meant to give you the answer. That's what I'm built for. It says, no, please stop giving me the answers. Then you say, okay, never explicitly say, even don't say my answer is wrong. Don't say even that. The third thing, take one question at a time, wait for my response. So I will answer the questions one by one. When I answer the question, what you do? If my answer is correct or incomplete, do not correct me or clarify the rule. Instead, ask a single gentle probing question. Ask me another question to clarify, right? Don't answer. Just ask me another question so that by answering that question, I will understand the concept, right? And if my answer is right, say well done and go to the next question, right? So by doing it, you're learning the rules of grammar, the language, the target language. And also, so this is what you do. And then you put the examples that I shared with you in the guided questionnaire, then the question itself, and then this is what you write in there. And I will show you how it works. So when I did this exactly, this is how it worked for me, the practical thing. So I did it, and this is the first response I got from AI. Gemini is the one I was using. So Gemini, this is the first question it asked me. It says, okay, please take a look at question number 1. Look at the bolded words. Do these words describe things that are happening right now or actions that already finished? So I just wanted to play with the system. I just gave a wrong answer. I said, okay, that's the answer I want to give. And I said, okay, these are actions which are happening right now. Remember, it's past simple. So naturally, these are the actions that happened in the past, right? But I said, no, these are actions that are happening right now. So the response from AI is this. It says, look, let's look at the sentences themselves to test the idea that you give. And it says, okay, in the first sentence, it says, I walked 5 miles to the park yesterday morning. In the second sentence is last night. So if those expressions, those sentences have these 2 words, yesterday morning, last night, if an action happened yesterday morning or last night, does that mean it is still going on at the moment or it has already come to an end? Who is asking me? The AI tool. And now I say, okay, I see. Yes, that has already come to an end. When I say this, ChatGPT says this one, Gemini, in fact. It says, okay, that makes sense. The words like, yeah, now it's giving me the rule here now. Look, so by making the AI reverse the order, rather than it's giving you answers, it's giving you the questions. And once you give the correct answer, you're developing the rules and gradually you're learning things there. Right?
Mr. Jan, I'm sorry to interrupt. We just have a couple of minutes left if you want to allow for Q&A.
So it's like we have 10 minutes, right?
Around 5 if you want to allow for
Fine.
Q&A.
Fine. I'll quickly because there are 2 other activities I want to rush through just to we will do it, right? So I mean, look, so once I do this one, it's taking me to the second question because I answered it. And again, by discussing those points with the AI, in the end, you're learning all the rules. And where is it happening? At home. Now, it's very important here, the role of teacher and the role of student. Now, what is the teacher doing? The teacher is giving the prompt. The teacher is designing the guided discovery questions. And all of these things can be easily done. If I just take you back to this thing, for example, all of this thing can be used as it is. And this is actually a sample you can use. It's kind of a template. And if you want it, I can share it with you later. So the only thing is you will change the thing here. For example, the highlighted part, instead of the past simple tense, you may say it's got future forms, right? And then the examples, you put the right examples here, the right questions here, and just follow everything in there. And finally, you will get to the point. So if you want to get a very quick summary of everything I said, this is what it is. And you may take a screenshot of this. And I have worked on this. So that QR code, The QR code is basically a worked example. I have done it, and you will, once you get there, you will get to my account on Gemini, and you will see what I have done. All the prompts I have given, all the responses I have got, and everything is here. So please go to this QR code, and you will get the idea from there. I'm just quickly going to the next activity. And again, I'm not going to spend this much time, I'm sure. I hope, let's go. Okay, so KWL chart, as I said, is something like this. So the things I know, the things I want to know, and the things I learned. So there's a text. What do I know about that topic? So the teacher is giving me 10 questions in the left side of here. So under the questions, I have 10 questions. Now I decide, do I know it? Put a tick. Yes, I know this thing. Okay, I don't know this one. I don't know 5. I know 5, and I don't know 5, right? And then for the things I don't know, I will focus on in my next lesson when the teacher is teaching you. So basically, it's preparing you for the next step of the lesson. And a very quick thing, I'm just giving you the the summary of it. So for this one, what we do is the teacher provides a blank KWL chart to the students before the lesson begins, and the students upload their assigned reading text, whatever you're reading. And then you're asking, okay, give me 10 questions to check my understanding, my background knowledge of it. It's giving you the 10 questions, you answer the 10 questions, and then you're telling the AI, please don't give me the answers to those questions. Just say right or wrong. On the basis of your decision to say this is right and that's wrong, I'm just going to put this into the KWL chart. And my KWL chart is ready. I'm going to use it in the next class, right? I'm just going to show you something. I'm not even going to explain it. Okay, that's a, again, worked example. Please, this will take you to my Gemini. You will see how I have actually used it. There's an example for you. If you want to take the QR code, please do it. Right, so there's yet another one. I don't want to explain it. Please use it for yourself later. Ms. Jaman is just staring at me. I don't want to annoy her any further, right? And yeah, this is a set of some bonus activities. If you want to use them with your students, just take a screenshot of this and the resources. That's what I used to prepare for this lesson. And we come to the last slide, the best thing I ever said, right? So any questions you may have, and if you want to connect, my email is there. And I also have I'm there in the social media, LinkedIn, and other things with the same email. And I also have a YouTube channel where I usually post about different educational topics. I've given the name there. You may connect with me there too. So thank you very much for bearing all this. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Jan, for such an insightful and engaging session. Your perspectives on flipping the classroom and using effective AI tools has given us much to reflect on as we continue working towards more inclusive and effective English language teaching practices. I think we can allow for maybe one question. We have one. Which AI tool can help in professional prompts?
Oh, okay. So prompt generation, you mean?
I think that's it's Sabah has asked this in the chat. Yes.
Oh, okay. It all depends, honestly. All of them can be used. For example, when I was creating the prompts here, I'm just going to be very honest with you. So you just give a general idea to any of them, right? So it will create the prompt for you. And you can use them across different platforms. For example, you give the general idea to ChatGPT to give you a prompt. And I've used it with the what do you call it? The Google tool that we use to create the audio and video overviews, the LM was Notebook LM, right? So I mean, it's wonderfully efficient. They're different platforms. So you create the prompts from Gemini, and you're using it in the Notebook LM, and you're using the prompts from Gemini into ChatGPT. So I mean, it's all perfect. It works that way.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you also to our audience for your active participation and thoughtful engagement throughout the session. We hope today's discussion inspires new ideas, meaningful conversations, and continued collaboration among educators and professionals in our field. On behalf of the Queen Rania Teacher Academy and Georgia State University, Thank you for being part of the fourth annual English Language Conference 2026. We look forward to seeing you in the next sessions and wish you a productive and inspiring conference experience. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jaman. That's a pleasure meeting you. And
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you.